my lovelies, it is time for another round of Have I Read It? So stay tuned. So if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. And if you're not new here, thanks for coming back. This is another one of my ways of picking my TBR for the upcoming month. But this is a way for you to have an input on what I read. So I'm gonna go back to a haul that was over 3 years ago, and we're gonna see if I've read the books, if I haven't read the books, if I've unhauled the books. And out of the ones that I haven't read, you will get to vote on which book or books I should read next month. And you'll find out the winner of the votes when I do my Wheel of TBR towards the end of the month. So if you watched the Have I Read It that I did earlier this week, you'd know I did really poorly on that one. Like there's so much that I had not read in that. So I've got my fingers and my toes crossed that in this one I will have read significantly more than I did in the other one. So I am going to be reacting today to my Y'all Fest 2018 book haul. I have my earbuds here. I've got the video pulled up. I'm a little worried because I'm bad. I know I'm bad at reading ARCs in a timely manner. And sometimes they'll sit on my shelves for years. And because this is a Y'all Fest haul, there's probably a good bit of ARCs that haven't been read. So I'm hoping I haven't done too terrible, but we'll see. All right, let's get started. Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have my Y'all Fest book haul for you, so stay tuned. As you can see here, I got a lot of books while at Y'all Fest. It was pretty incredible. My friend actually got a few as well, and so this is the majority of what we collected, but not everything. I think in the end we had a total of 33 books between us. But oh my goodness, this stack wants to fall over. So I think I'm going to split these in half just for stacking purposes so they don't topple. Okay, so I'm going to start with the books that are finished copies and then go on to the ARCs from there. So the first one I have is The Strange Fascinations of Noah Hypnotic by David Arnold. Nope. We're starting like we usually start, with a book that I have not read. Let me go grab that. Okay, so this is about a boy named Noah who he gets hypnotized, and then after all of that he starts seeing things that are different. So his world seems slightly off. Like his mother has a scar on her face that wasn't there before. His old dog, who once walked with a limp, is suddenly life. His best friend, a lifelong DC Comics disciple, now rotates in the Marvel Universe. Little things like this. And it says it's a story about all the ways we hurt our friends without knowing it, and all the ways they stick around to save us. So if you want me to read this, vote The Strange Fascinations of Noah Hypnotic. All right, continuing on. Next up is The Graces by Lori Eve. I have read that, but I'm not sure if I've unhauled it or not. I think I unhauled that and gave it to my friend Clint, maybe? Yeah, I've unhauled that. Next up. Okay, next up is Fablehaven, Book of Imagination, Create, Discover, and Explore by Brandon Mull. And this is sort of a activity kind of book. Okay, so I'm not going to count that one as like read or unread or anything like that, because it is an activity book and it was for Xander. So I think I'm just going to mark that one as unhauled. All right, next up. So I didn't include this with the swag haul that I did because I have the book as well, and it kind of goes along with the book. And it's Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. And it has exclusive bonus materials. It's almost like a comic type thing that goes along with the book. And I thought that was really neat. And it has like the map and stuff like that. I'm not going to count the little pamphlets, so let me skip ahead. And then I have the book here. So, Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. I have not read, so let me go grab that. Oh, huh! I actually stuck it in the book, so cool. I still have that. Let's see. This says 17-year-old Nedra Brystein leaves her home in the rural northern territory of Lunar Island to attend the prestigious Yugen Academy with only one goal in mind: master the trade of medicinal alchemy. A scholarship student matriculating with the children of Lunar Island's wealthiest and most powerful families, Nedra doesn't quite fit in with the other kids at Yugen until she meets Gregory Gray Astor. Gray is immediately taken by the brilliant and stubborn Nedra, who he notices is especially invested in her studies, and that's for a good reason. A deadly plague has been sweeping through the north, and it's making its way toward the cities. With her family's lives and the lives of all the Lunar Island citizens on the line, Nedra is determined to find a cure for the plague. Gray and Nedra grow close, but as the sickness spreads and the body count rises, Nedra becomes desperate to find a cure. Soon she finds herself diving into alchemy's most dangerous practices, and when she turns to the most forbidden practice of all, necromancy, even Gray might not be able to pull her from the darkness. Alright, so if you want me to read this, vote Give the Dark My Love. Alright, next up. Okay, next up is Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. Wow, not even with the finished books have I done very well. Hold on, I haven't read that one. Okay, this says Darius Keller speaks better Klingon than Farsi, and he knows more about Hobbit social cues than Persian ones. He's a fractional Persian, half his mom's side, and his first ever trip to Iran is about to change his life. Darius has never really fit in at home, and he's sure things are going to be the same in Iran. His clinical depression doesn't exactly help matters, and trying to explain his medication to his grandparents only makes things harder. Then Darius meets Sohrab, the boy next door, and everything changes. Soon they're spending their days together playing soccer, eating faluda, and talking for hours on a secret rooftop overlooking the city skyline. Sohrab calls him Dariosh, the original Farsi version of his name, and Darius has never felt more like himself than he does now that he's Darosh to Sohrab. By turns hilarious and heartbreaking, Adib Khorram's brilliant debut is for everyone who's ever felt not good enough, then met a friend who makes them feel so much better than okay. Alright, so if you want me to read this, vote Darius the Great Is Not Okay. Alright, next up. Okay, so those are all of the finished copies I have. Now we start into the arcs.
Lots of arcs.
So the first two arcs I have here actually seem to be already out on the market because it says they go on sale in 2017. The first one is Dragon Watch by Brandon Mull.
Okay, I haven't read that, but I think Dragon Watch, I think that's part of the Fablehaven series, so let me check. Okay, so it's its own series, but it's a spin-off from Fablehaven, so I think I'm just going to grab the first book in the Fablehaven series, because I feel like I need to read that before I can do this one, so give me one second. Okay, so Fablehaven is buried in a mountain of books. So I went ahead and grabbed Dragon Watch, and it does say on here the long-awaited sequel series to Fablehaven, so I do think I need to read that first. So if you want me to read Fablehaven, vote Fablehaven. I pulled it up on Goodreads here so I could tell you a little about it. It says, for centuries, mystical creatures of all description were gathered into a hidden refuge called Fablehaven to prevent their extinction. The sanctuary survives today as one of the last strongholds of true magic. Enchanting? Absolutely. Exciting? You bet. Safe? Well, actually, quite the opposite. And that's all I'm going to read of that. So yes, if you want me to read Fablehaven, vote Fablehaven. Let me pull up my video again. Alright, continuing on.
Okay, this is another book that says it came out in 2017. This says it came out November 2017, and that's Retribution Rails by Aaron Bowman.
I unhauled that. Next.
Sorry if there was an angle change, but my battery died. Okay, so next up are books that are supposed to come out in January of 2019. And the first one here is the one I'm most excited about. Oh my gosh, I literally screamed and hugged the girl when she told me I won. I was so happy. I got Slayer by Kirsten White.
I have read Slayer. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I have read it.
Okay, next up in January of 2019 is Unnatural Disasters by Jeff Hirsch.
I don't think I've read that. Let me check. I have not read it, and that only has a 3.2 on Goodreads. All right, let me grab it. Okay, this says, Lucy and her boyfriend have been planning an epic post-graduation trip for months, despite the unstable world they live in. But when everyone's phones start to ring during prom, Lucy knows something terrible has happened. Something new. Decades of climate change have taken their toll, religious extremism is spreading, refugees have nowhere left to turn, and terrorism is common. But this is worse, far worse. An unforgettable story about teens finding their way in a world the adults have destroyed. Unnatural Disasters is an untimely, hopeful tale of survival, identity, family, and love. All right. Oh, so if you want me to read this, vote Unnatural Disasters. Okay. What do we have next?
Okay, these next two books are the same book. I just ended up with two of them because my friend also got one. So he said I could use it and put it in a giveaway. These both come out in January, and that is The Field Guide to the North American Teenager.
I have read that. So since I had two, yes, you could say I read one and I unhauled one, but I actually really enjoyed that book. Next up,
let me move these stacks around here. Okay, these next books come out in February of 2019. So the first one is Dark of the West by Joanna Hathaway.
I have not read that. Let me grab it. Okay, let's see. This says, what does this say? Okay, this doesn't tell me much on the back, so I'm looking at it on Goodreads. It says, he was raised in revolution, she was raised in a palace. Can their love stop a war? Codename Verity meets the winter's curse in Joanna Hathaway's Dark of the West, a breathtaking YA fantasy debut. You know what? That's all I'm going to read. So if you want me to read this, vote Dark of the West. And I think I've actually since gotten the second book in that series. All right. Let's see what else we got.
Okay, next up is a book that I won while I was trying to win Slayer, and that is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Powell-Petro.
I haven't read that. I ended up with 3 copies of that book. So yeah, I had it in 2 different subscription boxes and that arc. I unhauled the arc, so I'm just gonna mark this as unhauled because that particular one has been unhauled. Okay, this next book also comes out in February of 2019, and this one is a middle grade book, and I got it because I thought it would be something Xander would be interested in, and that is The Owls Have Come to Take Us Away by Ronald L. Smith. I have not read that. Let me go grab that one. Yeah, I didn't remember anything at all about this book. This says 12-year-old Simon is obsessed with aliens, the ones who take people and do experiments. When he's too worried about them to sleep, he listens to the owls hoot outside. Owls that have the same eyes as aliens, dark and foreboding. Then something strange happens on a camping trip and Simon begins to suspect that he's been abducted. But is it real or just the overactive imagination of a kid who loves fantasy novels and role-playing games and is the target of bullies and his father's scorn? Even readers who don't believe in UFOs will relate to the universal feeling of not being taken seriously by adults that deepens this deliciously scary tale from an award-winning author. Fine. And it's not too long either. It's like right at just a little over 200 pages. So if you want me to read this, vote The Owls Have Come to Take Us Away. And for some reason I have The Owls Have Come to Take Us Away. Ha ha, the owls have come to take us away. I don't know why. Okay, next up.
The next several books all came in March of 2019, and the first one is Voices, The Final Hours of Joan of Arc by David Elliott.
Okay, I haven't read that, but I read his book Bull and freaking loved it. It's one of my favorites. And I'm so happy to have this, and I can't believe that I've waited so long to read it. But I ended up, Bull kind of worked the same way. I had Bull for a really long time before I read it and loved it. So let me grab that. So this is like the final hours of Joan of Arc, and it's done in like verse. So it's done in like poems. So this is going to be a super quick read. And I've got a feeling that I'm going to love this as well. If it's anything as good as Bull, I'm excited for this one. So if you want me to read this, vote voices. All right, continuing on. Okay, this next book is one that I have 2 copies of as well. So one will go into a giveaway at some point. And that is Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. And I love this cover. It's got this foil. Haven't read that. So I have one that you could say is unread and one that's been unhauled. So let me grab it. Okay, the song I was thinking of is not The Owls Are Coming to Take Me Away. It's They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha. They're coming to take me away. I'm losing my mind. Okay, so this says Princess Ariala is a prisoner to her crown and the heir that nobody wants. Surrounded by spirits and banned from using her blood magic, Ariala must flee her country after a devastating assassination attempt. Her only option for freedom lies with another warden, her betrothed, Prince Valentin. Valentin? To escape her fate, Ariala disguises herself as a commoner in a new land and discovers a happiness her crown has never allowed. As she forges new bonds and perfects her magic, she begins to fall for a man who is forbidden to rule beside her. But the ghosts that haunt Ariala refuse to abandon her, and she finds herself succumbing to their call as they expose a nefarious plot that only she can defeat. Will she be forced to choose between the weight of the crown and the freedom of her new life? This is a heavy book, too. All right. So if you want me to read this, vote Bloodleaf. And we are currently at 9 books right here. So hopefully we don't add too many more. Next up. Okay, these next 2 books again are duplicates, one of which will be in a giveaway, and that is Internment by Samira Ahmed. Yes, I have read this one as well. That was a 5-star read for me. I loved it. And so because there's 2, you could say I've read one and I've unhauled one. Yay. Okay, next. Okay, next up is When the Sky Fell on Splendor by Emily Henry. I feel like I read that. Let me look. I really feel like I've read this. I don't have it marked as read, but there was a time that I wasn't updating Goodreads at all. So I might have read this and just didn't mark it, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna grab it and we'll put it here and you can vote. Hold on. So this is marked as The Serpent King meets Stranger Things. And I know that there's some kind of like alien something. Hold on. Almost everyone in the small town of Splendor, Ohio was affected when the local steel mill exploded. If you weren't a casualty of the accident yourself, chances are a loved one was. That's the case for 17-year-old Fanny, who 5 years after the explosion still has to stand and do nothing as her brother lies in a coma. In the wake of the tragedy, Fanny found solace in a group of friends whose experience mirrored her own. The group called themselves The Ordinary, and they spend their free time investigating local ghost stories and legends, filming their exploits for their small town following of YouTube fans. It's silly, it's fun, and it keeps them from dwelling on the sadness that surrounds them. Until one evening when the strange and dangerous thing they film isn't fiction. It's a bright light, something massive hurtling toward them from the sky. And when it crashes and the teens go to investigate, everything changes. I really feel like I read it, but I'm not sure. So if you want me to read this, vote When the Sky Fell on Splendor. Okay, so we are up to 10 books now. So if there are any more that I haven't read that have to go up here, then that means I'll have to pick at least 2 books. Next up. Okay, these next few books are coming out in April of 2019. And the first one is Every Moment After by Joseph Moldover. I don't know. I can't remember if I read that one or not. Hold on. Okay, I don't have it marked as read, so let me grab it. Okay, this says, 11 years after a school shooting devastates their first grade class, best friend Cole Hewitt and Matt Simpson are graduating from high school. Cole is the boy in the picture, the iconically photographed poster child for the shooting, even though he remembers nothing about it. Matt is the boy who wasn't there, forever preoccupied with everything connected to the shooting and with his guilt over having been homesick that day. Facing the last summer before college, both boys must confront the burden of the past and what it means to be alive as they step into the future. I feel like I read this one too, but I didn't mark it, so I'm going to say I didn't. So if you want me to read this, vote every moment after. And with that, that means I'll have to have at least 2. I don't think we'll get up to the point where I have to have at least 3, but we'll see. All right, next up. Okay, next up is This Book Is Not Yet Rated, a novel by Peter Bogani. Nope, I have not read that, so let me grab it. Okay, this says, for readers of Mosquitoland and High Fidelity, a coming-of-age story about the places that define us and the lessons learned in loving and letting go. Movies have always helped Ethan Ashby make sense of the world, so when developers swoop in and say the classic Green Street cinema is going to be destroyed to make room for luxury condos, Ethan knows this is a battle worth fighting. And that's all I'm going to read for that. So yes, if you want me to read this, vote This Book Is Not Yet Rated. All right, next up. And next up is The Giver, the graphic novel adaptation of the Newbery Medal winner. Adapted and illustrated by P. Craig Russell. And originally, The Giver is by Lois Lowry. I have read that. Okay, these next 2 books come out in May of 2019. And the first one here is a middle grade book, and that is Spark by Sarah Beth Durst. I have not read that. Let me grab it. Okay. This says, the smallest flame can ignite a fire that changes the world. Storm beasts and their guardians create perfect weather every day, and Mina longs for a storm beast of her own. But when the shy, gentle girl bonds with a lightning beast, a creature of fire and chaos, everyone's certain it's a mistake. Everyone but Mina and the beast himself picks it. Quickly enrolled in lightning school, Mina struggles to master a guardian's skill, and she discovers that idyllic weather comes at a devastating cost, a cost powerful people wish to hide. Mina's never been the type to speak out, but someone has to tell the truth, and with Pixit's help, she resolves to find a way to be heard. So if you want me to read this, vote Spark. All right, I can see we're getting close to the end. It looks like there's only 2 books left. Here we go. Okay, next up is We Contain Multitudes by Sarah Henstra. Nope. Hold on. Okay, this says, Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe meets I'll Give You the Sun in an exhilarating and emotional novel about the growing relationship between 2 teen boys told through the letters written to each other. That's all I'll read about that. So if you want me to read this, vote We Contain Multitudes. It's quite a stack there. All right, I think this is the last book. Okay, this next book comes out in June of 2019, and this is a middle grade book, but it is one that I think Xander and I will both thoroughly enjoy because it's a fairy tale retelling kind of thing where you mash up a few different fairy tales, and I always love those. This is Briar and Rose and Jack by Catherine Coville. I have not read that one. Let me grab it. Okay, this says, an evil giant, a secret curse, 3 brave friends determined to save their kingdom. Lady Briar is scorned for her appearance. Princess Rose is adored for her looks. Unbeknownst to them, one or both may bear a curse that only true love can break. But the girls have little time for curses anyway. Along with their friend Jack, they are busy plotting the downfall of the evil giant who plagues their kingdom. But how can children succeed when the adults are afraid to even try? And what if the curse manifests? Whose love could be true enough to save the day? Sumptuous storytelling combines Sleeping Beauty with Jack and the Beanstalk in a magical exploration of prejudice, justice, and the meaning of true love. Okay, so if you want me to read this, vote Briar and Rose and Jack. All right, now let me double check and make sure that that was actually the last one.
Okay, and then the last book that I have here comes out in July of 2019, and it is also a middle grade, or maybe even earlier, but I still thought it would be something that Xander would enjoy. This is a graphic novel. It is Mystery Club, 2 mysteries in 1 book, Wild Werewolves and Mummy Mischief.
I have unhauled that one. I gave it to Xander, and I think he's since gotten rid of it as well. So that was the last one. Yay. I don't think I did, I mean, I didn't do great, obviously, but I don't think I did nearly as bad as I did in the last one, where I only read like 2. So vote down below, comment which books you want me to read. I'm going to be choosing the top 2 voted books for this because of how many I have here. I have 15 here. So yes, the top 2 highest voted books will be on my November TBR, and you will see which ones won when I post my Wheel of TBR towards the end of the month. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!